Hello everybody, my name is Ratnos, and today we have a look at the exciting new encrypted affix from the PTR, just went up. So I've done 2 keys with this affix now, and I'm going to do my best to explain everything about how the affix works, then answer some FAQs about it that from what we could figure out, and then give some feedback at the end about how I feel about it so far. So here is the TLDR of the affix. Scattered throughout the dungeon, with each boss and with several packs throughout the dungeon, you have these 3 floating relics, right? You can see them here. There's a circle one called the relic, a square one called the Woe relic, and a pointy one called the Vi relic. And each of them gives a minor buff to the nearby enemies, but they have very little health and they die fairly quickly. When you kill the 3rd one, an ad will spawn based on whichever one you killed first. So if you kill the one, the circle one first, you get this ad. And he's a big tanky guy. He will hit your tank with a targeted effect that makes you take 25% increased damage, and he'll do a slam that is dodgeable. And then when you kill him, he does not give count. None of them do from what I can tell. But you get a different buff depending on which one it was. So here you can see I've got this debuff, this purpley debuff, 150% increased movement speed from the one. And that's not actually all the one does. The one also provides a shroud effect. Let me see if I can find the footage of getting that. So here it is. Okay, yeah, the So if you kill the and you're out of combat, you see this, we all get this effect. And in addition to the 45 seconds of 150% increased movement speed, you get 10 seconds of Shroud. And so you can see you can run past stuff without getting in combat with it. So pretty cool for potentially this skip right here, or just skips all sorts of places. It's only 10 seconds long. You have to be out of combat when you kill the to get that, but definitely a useful case. Otherwise, though, it's only giving you movement speed when you kill the So there are some other ones that you might be interested in killing as well, such as where is it? Okay, the Woe one, right? So this is the Woe Drifter. That's if you kill the Woe, which is the square relic first, it will spawn the Woe Drifter. It's just this big thing. It does a cast that you can interrupt. Otherwise, it'll do big group-wide damage. Let me show you that cast going off, actually. So yeah, the Woe Relic, you kill the Woe first, the big square one, and then you'll get the Woe Drifter when you kill the 3rd relic in the pull. It spawns for a bit, and then it kind of just hangs out, and it casts Burst. And if you let Burst go off, you can see it does some raid damage there to everybody. So you want to interrupt that if you can. And then the benefits of killing the Woe is you get a 20% haste buff for 45 seconds, which is pretty cool. Another thing about the affix that is pretty cool is, so you can see we just pulled the boss. The boss had relics around it as well. And so we get another Woe Drifter here, right? And we still have our first Woe buff. And so you can actually get double. They don't stack, like they do stack, right? It doesn't refresh the duration or anything. So you can get double duration, or not double duration, double effect. And you can see for a bit there, we were all just kind of insane hasted with 2, like, I think they're multiplicative with each other as well. 2 hits of 25% increased haste. So that's kind of a crazy thing that you can do if you are going really fast and you kill 2 sets of relics at the same time. It is a little bit fiddly from what it looks like to me. If you fight, so you have the 6 relics, right? And if you kill the 3 differently named ones, and then the other 3 differently named ones, you'll get 2 ads, and so you can get the 2 buffs. But if you kill 2 with the same name before you killed, 3 differently named ones, you'll only get 1 total actually encrypted mob out of the 6 relics. So that is something that you have to watch out for. But it's fairly easy. They have so little health that you can probably spawn the big encrypted ad and then go and fight the next one and spawn it as well without wasting too much time. Okay, so that's what 2 of the 3 do. The last one is called the Vi relic. So it's the spiky relic, and you can see here I'm killing that one first. And so then again, when the 3rd relic dies, you get the Vi Interceptor. This guy is really annoying. Of the 3, I think it's the most annoying mob. It casts Shoot, and it stays planted, and then it actually teleports away and makes this fusion beam that you need to dodge, or does quite a bit of damage. And the benefit, though, of killing that is you get a ability haste. I guess haste is the wrong word. Ability haste is the League of Legends term for this, but you get 25% increased cooldown recovery rate, basically, for your cooldowns. So it's a 45-second buff of that. It basically ends up being 25% spell and ability increased cooldown rate. It's a clunky effect, but it basically means you're going to get like 10, 11 seconds off of major cooldowns, and rotational abilities will also cool down faster, which can be relevant. My suspicion is that this is going to be worse than the haste for most cases. You would basically never choose Vi over Woe, because the Woe is easier to kill. You just have to interrupt it once, and it doesn't teleport around, it doesn't shoot people, and it doesn't make anything you have to dodge on the ground. So the Woe Drifter is an easier mob to kill, and I think 20% haste is better than 25% spell and ability cooldown for almost all specs, because most specs that have something that they really like reducing the cooldown of scales its cooldown reduction with haste already. So you already get a lot of that benefit just from having a nice haste buff. So my suspicion is, if it went live the way it currently did, you'd basically never kill Vi, and you would just kill Woe as the default for the haste, and you would kill for Shrouds when you wanted them, which is, I think, a pretty cool mode. So all in all, I quite like the idea for this affix. I'm a little bit worried that, first of all, it has those kind of hallmarks of affixes where the right answer ends up being to just kind of skip them, right? If you look at one pack that has the encrypted relics and one that doesn't, and it's like, hey, would you like 45 seconds of 25% haste or 20% haste in exchange for killing an extra mob? The mob itself isn't too bad to deal with, but my guess is the answer might still be no. It might still be, let's just not bother with this, and because it doesn't give count, right? So that damage that you're doing, like, you need to make that time back up with the 45-second buff for it to be worthwhile. We saw with Prideful, right? A buff can be really powerful and still just not worth the time invested in getting it. So I'm a little bit worried that that's going to be the case for a lot of them, but there's always one for each boss. There's a boss, there's relics for each boss, right? So my guess is what the default will be is you'll get Woe for each boss, and then maybe you'll use the Shroud skips in a couple spots. You can see here we have one member shrouded because he got it and didn't do any hostile actions since he got it. The rest of our group actually didn't get the Shroud benefit, though. So that's another annoying thing about this affix. The relic, the circle relic that gives you the Shroud when you kill the tank mob that it makes. It, unfortunately, if you're still in combat with any other mobs, the Shroud drops off of you, which is pretty awkward. It makes it pretty hard to get that buff if you want it, because the total health of the relics and the mob itself, the encrypted mob, is such that you're pretty often still going to have a couple of trash mobs still alive when that is actually finished. So if you want to get the Shroud, you have to be really careful to avoid damaging the encrypted mob and kill all the other stuff first, which I think is also fairly awkward. So yeah, my points of feedback for the affix is I already quite like it. I think it's pretty cool. Even just the effect it has on bosses where it's like, hey, kill these things, get some extra haste, or ability cooldown, or even movement speed for some boss fights, right? Like you could imagine some of the boss fights that exist in the game right now, having 150% movement speed could actually be quite useful. I think I could see it being worth doing for some of them at least. But anyways, even just that part I think is pretty cool. I think my thing is, first, I don't think you'd ever want to kill the Vi over the Woe, so that's something to maybe change the effect that the Vi gives, or something, so that it's not just so similar to the haste, right? It's like haste or ability cooldown. Maybe make it like a damage reduction or something, so that, again, it's situational but powerful. And then the other thing is the Shroud. I wish the Shroud was a little bit less awkward to use. So I think the way the Shroud one could work is it could just take effect when you drop combat if you have that 45-second buff, right? Instead of being right at the start, just being like, if you have the 45-second buff, and you drop combat, then you get 10 seconds of Shroud, right? Instead of it needing to be right at the start. So those are, I guess, my feedback suggestions for it. But I don't know. It's a pretty low impact affix in terms of like how hard it is. It's not like Prideful or Tormented where it makes these mini bosses that feel really tough, right? Like instead of that, it's instead of like 4 really hard bosses throughout the whole dungeon, it's with like a lot of health. It's like 8 or 10 medium-sized, kind of just extra trash mobs. That none of them, even the one like even the Vi one that I described as the most annoying, even that one's not really that annoying. And the Woe Drifter is like, it really just doesn't do all that much threatening, right? As long as you're aware of it and you make sure you're giving it the interrupt you want. The main thing about this affix is just making sure you're killing the correct relic first if you want to get a specific effect. So I like that. I like affixes that get out of the way and let the dungeon be there, and I like the lower impact affixes personally. I have a lot more fun with those, so I already like this affix quite a bit. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. Sorry if I went a little bit rambly. Sorry about the production quality being low, but I gotta get this video out as soon as humanly possible so that I can upload it before Jack, who was in these dungeon groups as well, who's also making a video at the same speed, or at the same time as me, but nobody edits and uploads videos faster than I do, so hope you enjoyed this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.